Hi there, welcome to At the Bench. My name's John Simmers and I'm a professional violin and bowmaker. In today's video, I want to talk about this violin that came in a couple of days ago. The student that plays the violin was having trouble with intonation and her teacher recommended that she bring it in for me to have a look to see what's going on. I've had a good look over the instrument and I believe the fingerboard is the biggest problem. The setup on this violin is not great. We can probably ignore the bridge. The nut's a little bit too high and the fingerboard is way too hollow along its length this way, which doesn't help, and the surface of the fingerboard is quite lumpy and bumpy. So we're going to rectify that. It also has a mark on the fingerboard. I believe it's some filler of some sort. It looks like glue and sawdust, and a really gnarly knot up here, which is going to make it interesting to try and plane. But I think I have the technology. We can get past that and save this fingerboard rather than having to make another one. During the course of the discussion I had with the player and the player's parent, it came out that the instrument was purchased not that long ago, in the last year or so, from a violin shop. When I was a violin making student in the UK, one of our teachers gave us a lecture about making sure that any instrument that leaves the workshop, whether it's something being sold or a repair, it has to be perfect. It has to be absolutely as good as it can be. The setup's got to be right. Everything's got to be right. So the customer is taking an instrument away that's not going to need any adjustments or any work done for some time. One of the worst scenarios when buying an instrument is that you buy an instrument based on its sound, but the instrument has problems that need rectifying, and the rectification of those problems, not only is it going to cost you more money, but it's going to possibly change the sound of the instrument, which is what we're dealing with here. One would also ask, if you've bought an instrument from a shop and they've provided it to you in a fairly poor state and not particularly well set up, there's not much point taking it back to get that rectified if they didn't have the skill to actually get it right in the first place. Having examined the instrument closely, the thing that I'm really most concerned about is not the fingerboard. That's a technical thing, I can sort that out. But to do so, I have to take the bridge and the strings off. The instrument has a Soundpost crack. There's a repair. There's a Soundpost patch on the inside. I did a video about Soundpost patches a while ago. Welcome to go and have a look at that. There's a patch on the inside. It's not the worst Soundpost patch I've ever seen. It's not the best, but you know, I'll call it acceptable. But my biggest gripe is that the outside of the crack is still dirty. It's got gunge and glue and stuff in it. It actually hasn't been restored. So someone's gone to all the effort of fitting a Soundpost patch without restoring the crack first. I can't actually understand why you would do that. The Soundpost crack and patch of themselves don't really bother me. That's not my problem. But what is my problem is that the Soundpost that's now inside the instrument does not fit. It's very, very poorly fitting on the top and the bottom. So you've got an instrument that's compromised. It's already got a Soundpost crack, does have a Soundpost patch. I'll insert a photograph of the inside of the instrument, top and bottom of the Soundpost. These were taken through the F-hole. There's a light inside the instrument, and I'm using a mirror to be able to look at the area of the Soundpost patch where it doesn't fit. When you fit a Soundpost to an instrument, the top and the bottom of the Soundpost have to be cut at exactly the right angle so that they fit all the way around. So all of the contact area of the top and the bottom of the post is in touch and in contact with the inside of the instrument. That's definitely not the case with this one. Usually they don't sound too good. They're not tonally stable, but also the post sitting just on the edge of the Soundpost, sort of on the sharp edge, can dig into the inside of the instrument. Well, it does. It will dig into the inside of the instrument. And it's also putting all of the load from the strings on the Soundpost onto one small edge, increasing the risk of a crack developing. And in this case, there's already a crack. So to go to all the effort of fitting a Soundpost patch and then putting a Soundpost in it that doesn't fit, it just defies logic. So how is this my problem? It's my problem in two ways. So I identified the fact that this Soundpost doesn't fit and that it really needs to be changed to the owner. The problem is they bought this instrument because they loved the sound of it. If I change the Soundpost, it might improve the sound. It should do. It'll certainly make the instrument more structurally sound and less likely to be damaged. But it will certainly change the sound. I can almost guarantee that. Do I want to be responsible for that? I shouldn't really have to be. This should have been perfect when they bought it, but it wasn't. So I could just choose to ignore the Soundpost. I did actually tell them about it when they were here. And I could choose to ignore the Soundpost as part of the repair and say, look, I don't want to know about that. That's not my problem. You like the sound of the instrument. You know it doesn't fit. It's your call. I'm not going to touch it. I'll just do the fingerboard. The problem is when I take the strings off so I can work on the fingerboard, the Soundpost is quite likely to fall over. And I can't put that Soundpost back in the way it is. That would just be really unprofessional. So I would end up having to make a Soundpost. So this brings me back to what I was initially saying in this video. You've got to make sure you buy your instruments from someone who's professional and qualified. This shouldn't happen, but it does. I see this all the time. It's great, and it's really obvious that you would want to seek your teacher or a colleague's opinion on the sound of an instrument. If you're looking to buy it, you want to get them to play it, you can listen, all that kind of stuff. That's completely understandable and perfectly normal. But your teacher or colleague is very unlikely to be able to give you a good opinion as to the instrument's condition and setup, even a new one. It doesn't matter if it's new or old, the same thing applies. It's a bit like asking your driving instructor for an opinion on an old car that you're looking to buy. They can tell you if it drives okay and it changes gear and the brakes work and all that kind of stuff, but they wouldn't have a clue generally whether there's any rust, if it's been serviced correctly, does it have a leaky head gasket. It's a crude analogy, but I think it's actually quite a good one. That's why when you buy an instrument, you really need to seek a professional opinion about its condition, or better still, just buy it from someone who is going to ensure that you're not going to be left in this situation. It's a little bit later on now. I started working on this instrument with the fingerboard and the unfitting Soundpost. As soon as I lowered the string tension, that Soundpost just fell straight over. So looks like it's going to get a new one. I also noticed after I removed the Soundpost and had a look inside, there's quite a big divot where the Soundpost was sitting, which is sort of what I expected. I'll put a photo of that in here. Hopefully you can see the mark where the Soundpost has been sitting. It's a little bit indented there. The other thing that I've noticed is this is the Soundpost that came out of the instrument. It looks quite old. It looks older than the Soundpost patch. The Soundpost patch actually looks fairly recent, along with some of the other repairs on the inside. But I reckon they've just put this old Soundpost back in. The ends of the Soundpost, which should be cut to match the contour of the inside of the instrument, it's really round. Although the inside of the instrument is curved, is convex, it's such a small area where the Soundpost sits that really we just make it completely flat, and that's right. Technically, if you were able to cut a Soundpost with a slight radius to match the radius of the inside, I guess that would be fine. I don't think it's really possible, but this thing's really round. If I put it on the end of my plane here, I'm thinking you probably won't be able to see it, but it's way rounder than the inside of the instrument. Mind you, that's kind of academic because it was only sitting right on the edge anyway, so none of the round section was even touching. Earlier today, the girl who owns the violin I was working on in this video, she came in to pick it up, had a really good play on it. She was more than happy with the sound and the newly shaped fingerboard, so hopefully that will keep her out of trouble for a while. I thought I would show you what I've been working on at the moment. This is a small viola, small old German viola. It's probably 100, 120 years old, something like that. It's a trade instrument. Nothing spectacular, but I think it's going to actually work pretty well. Sound quite good when it's done. Interestingly, before I pulled the instrument apart, I suspected that the neck was moving and the button had a crack either side. So I removed the front, took out the top block, and actually found that the button was not moving and didn't have cracks in it. The button was a replacement. When they were making the instrument, I'm suspecting perhaps they cut the outline out and forgot to leave the wood for the button behind, something like that. But when it was being made, it actually had an extra piece of wood added to which the button was made. It was inserted up to the purfling line, and there was actually a big gap underneath that didn't fit properly. So what I've done is I've actually kept the original button because it's got the original varnish, etc. Even though it's not part of the back, there's a little knife mark down it to imitate the center joint of the back. To reinforce it all, I fitted a patch here. It's half the thickness of the button. I don't know if you can see that. And it's just a new piece of wood that goes in there. The block will sit on top of that, and that will all be good. While the front's off, I had a look at the inside. Not very happy with this base bar, so I'm going to take that out and replace it. It's actually slightly curved. It's not put in straight. The dimensions aren't fantastic either, so I will remove that, put a new base bar in it, and once the top block, which I'm making here, is fitted and glued in place, I can put the front back on and set the neck. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you've got any questions or comments, leave them down below. See you here next time.